Hi, we're going to write a program in Delphi that will input three amounts, prices of items. It will calculate the VAT and the total including VAT. You will notice that I've already set up the GUI in Delphi. I'm using three edit boxes. I have three labels, amount 1, amount 2, amount 3. Important to know the name of the edit boxes because we'll be using them in our program. The first one, okay, ignore that. The first one is called EDT amount 1. Second one, EDT amount 2, EDT amount 3, and the EDT stands for edit box. We're also using three buttons. The buttons, I've kept the caption name same as the name of the button, and the first one is BTN total, and you can see the other two. I'm using a T-Rich edit GUI. You can click on search on the right and type in T-Rich, and that'll pick up the T-Rich edit GUI that I'm using for my display. Some of you might want to use a memo, that is fine, or even a caption. So we're moving on, and the first thing we need to do is the user is going to enter three numbers in the edit boxes. We're going to take them, we're going to add them together and find the total. So we're going to program behind the button called total, BTN total. Double click on that, it takes us to this place, and you will notice if you scroll to the top, I've declared a variable in the global section. That's my global section. I'm going to quickly document that for you. And what I'm going to do there is I've declared two variables called total and VAT. If you declare your variables in the global section, it can be used in all of the buttons in this class. You'll notice here we have a local section, and the variables we declare here can only be used in this method called button total click. So moving on, the first thing we want to do, if we return to our GUI, the user is going to enter an amount here. We need to store it in a variable or transfer it to a variable. So to do that, the code, I'm going to call for the variable a amount 1 am control space. It will pick up the variable which is assigned, and we're going to assign that to, if we return to the GUI, and this is called EDT amount 1. So going back, amount 1 is assigned EDT control space, it'll pick it up, EDT amount 1 dot text. Now we have a problem here, and the problem lies in the fact that we are trying to take an amount from an edit box which is of type string, and we are trying to place it in a variable that is of type real. So we must do a conversion, and very quickly what we're going to do there is called float control space. Actually it's string to float. Let's go back, string str control space. It'll pick that up, and we're going to say string to float, and you'll notice that I'm struggling to pick that up, so I'm just going to carry on typing string to float, and that picks it up, and I have that. So we're going to take that amount from the edit box, convert it to float, and then store it in a variable called amount 1. Now returning to the GUI, we're going to do that for the other two. So to do that, it's the same code, and you can pause the video at any time if you're trying to catch up. The same code, and all we're going to do now is, I've pre-coded this to save time. Amount 2 is assigned EDT amount 2.text, and amount 3 is assigned EDT amount 3.text. So these three will take out the values that we would enter in the edit boxes and store them in our three variables that we've declared. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to add them together and store them in our variable called total. So TOT control space total, which I've declared on the top on the global section, will be assigned AM for amount 1 plus AM control space amount 2 plus AM control space amount 3. So I have my three amounts being added and stored in a variable called total. The next thing we would like to do is we would like to display this in our GUI, and the name of the GUI is red display. So to do that, I'm firstly going to clear the area, red control space red display dot lines dot clear, and that will clear the GUI. The next thing I want to do is I want to display the total just to see if it works. Alright, so I'm going to say red control space this red display dot lines dot add, and what I want to do is I want to add in the total, but remember that total is of type real and we want to display in a GUI, so we need to convert total to a string. And now I'll use float control space float to string, and I could say the total. And what we have now is our total being displayed in the GUI. And if we run the program at this stage, you will notice that we have the GUI coming up, and I can type in 3 amounts, and I can type in reals, decimals and integers, and if I click on button total, it gives me an answer of 42.4. It would be nice if we could format this with rands. So to be able to do that, what I'm going to do now, instead of using float to string, there is a method called float to string with an F for formatting, and the formatting format that I'm going to use on total, I'm going to go there and it's called F control space, and I'm looking for currency, and it needs 2 parameters from me, one for the field width and one for the decimal places, which is comma 2. So if I run that, you'll notice the difference in our output. If I use 12.567 and I use 12.3, and now I'm going to use 18, and I say button total 2 decimal places, and you'll also notice that we have the rand signed. It would be good to actually output the 3 amounts that we have, so that the user can see the amounts. So to be able to do that, we could actually go and copy, and we're going to use a copy and paste technique. And now I want to display, well, my semicolon is missing there. I want to display amount 1, amount 2 and amount 3. So we'll go with one at a time. The first one, the total should be AM control space amount 1. That sorts my problem out, comma FF currency, comma 8, comma 2. You'll notice that I'm missing 1 bracket there. So I'm going to do this copy and paste a little better. Copy, going down, control space, and now I'm going to change amount 1 to amount 2. Then I'm going to control paste again, amount 3. And now if I run it, and you'll notice the difference, 12.3, then I'm going to enter 12 point some decimal places in there, 12, and you'll notice now I've got 12.3, the 3 amounts together with the total. Now it would be good if we had some messages in here, or at least for the last one having a message saying total. So if we want to do that, I can go in front of my output for the total and add a message there and say total is equal to, and concatenate that to the actual value. You notice that it's picking up an error. I've got 2 quotation marks on that. Let's change that to 1. So I'm confident that will work. So we're going to move on, and in moving on we return to the GUI. So the next thing we want to do is we want to work out the VAT, and to work out, we're going to carry on programming, and we're going to move on to the button called BTN VAT. If I double click on that, it'll take me to the code, and looking at the code, I have VAT, which is declared of type real. So for me to be able to work out the VAT, remember I worked out the total, and it is a global variable, so I can use it in this method as well. So we're going to say VAT is assigned, and to work out VAT, thank goodness the Minister of Finance did not increase the VAT, and we know the VAT percentage is 14%. So I'm going to take my total, control space, it's good to pick it up so we don't make any spelling errors. Total times 14/100, and that'll give us 14%. Some of you might use 0.14. That's perfect. And then we want to display the VAT. and to display the VAT, we're going to call upon the GUI, red control space display dot lines dot add, and now we want to put a message. So firstly it's the message, so in quotes I'm going to say VAT is equal to, and then we're going to join that to the amount stored in VAT, and we're now going to use, now that we know that we're going to use a conversion, float to string, so we're going to say float, and you'll notice we're picking it up float to string with a F, so we can use our formatting of currency, and the variable name for VAT is V control space, and we can pick that up VAT comma FF control space, and you'll pick up FF currency, and I'm going to use comma 8 comma 2, and doing that completes the code. And now if we run this, we will notice that if I enter three amounts, 12.35, 5 and 7, if I click on button total, I get the three amounts added. Now if I work out on VAT, it works it out to be 3.41. We will now go and program the last button, which is BTN total including. Double click on that button, it'll take me behind the code. Now remember, at this stage we have two global variables called total and VAT, and we've worked at the total and we worked at the VAT. All we have to do is now we're going to say total control space, which is a global variable, so we can use it here, is assign whatever the total was, control space, plus we're going to add the VAT onto that. Notice that I can pick up the variable by using control space, which prevents any typing or syntax errors, also spelling errors. Now, moving on, we've now worked out the new total includes VAT. We want to display that. Now remember, we just above that we've displayed the VAT, so we can quickly copy or control C and control V to paste that, and all we have to do is change this and say, right, the new message is going to be, let's use caps, total including VAT, and we've got to change this. We don't want VAT in there, we want total, and you'll notice that the total, original total, has been overwritten with the new VAT inclusive. Control D to align your code, and now if we run this, and let's hope it works. So I'm going to enter amount 1, 12.36, tab to take you to the next edit box, 12.56, tab 12.056, and if I click on button total, I get the total, VAT 518, and then I will get the total including VAT, which will add the two amounts together. And that is quite interesting in this program. Now you can actually test this out with your calculator.